Okay, so great to see more essays from you. Let's take a look and see what you've written here. This is the one about travel, advantages and disadvantages. Let's see. In the contemporary world, traveling within our own country or foreign nations has been accelerating. This is definitely a positive trend because it can be beneficial for the travelers and local economy. However, some opponents believe any negative consequences cannot be ignored. This essay will explore merits with some examples to demonstrate my viewpoints. All right, now I want you to be careful with this. This doesn't ask you for your opinion. Isn't that interesting? Usually, we're used to seeing essays that ask you for your opinion. They say, discuss advantages and disadvantages and give your own opinion, or do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? When the question is phrased like that, you need to give your opinion. Here, however, they have not done that. They only say discuss the advantages and disadvantages of traveling. Okay? So you're really not supposed to present an opinion. All right? So, you could have said this is a positive trend because it can be beneficial for travelers and local economies. However, negative consequences such as damaging the environment can also not be ignored. So if you did that, that would have been okay, because this way you're presenting an advantage and you're presenting a disadvantage. Okay, but you also don't want demonstrate my viewpoints. Get rid of that. This essay will explore merits and demerits with some examples. Full stop. All right. So the reason I changed it, just again to make sure you understand, is because you made it sound like you think it's positive, but other people think they're negatives. You don't want that. You want, in a more general way, either this is what is believed by everybody, the positives and the negatives, or yeah, I think they're positive and negatives. But better would be to just make it more general. All right. Um, yeah, let's continue. On the one hand, taking a journey has several positive effects on the tourists and the local business chain. Firstly, the increase, not increasing, the increase of visitors would create no, not more better experience for their own. The grammar and the vocabulary here is rather awkward. I don't really know what you mean here. The increase of visitors would create a better experience for them, I think is what you mean. I'm not sure, but I think that's what you mean. The travelers can go sightseeing to many famous destinations which they have not seen before, so they could enrich their life. For example, the travelers can take many exotic pictures by spectacular landscapes S and architectural buildings S and recall back later for the few years. This again is very awkward. We don't say this in English. And recall back later for the few years. Secondly, the increasing of travelers could contribute to the local economy. This is largely because the more visitors could have more possible. No, this is largely because uh, more visitors could possibly spend more money on local goods or services, which helps us to make a profit, helps to make a profit for local business. Okay, so some grammar errors here. For example, the travelers can bring more than 30% business sales to local retail shops, especially for the large cities. Therefore, it is constructively, I think you mean conclusively clear that taking a trip could have many benefits. All right. So the second half of this was fine. I mean, yeah, it had a lot of grammar mistakes. The first half, I didn't love it. I felt like some of the vocabulary and grammar mistakes kind of took away from the meaning. Um, let's see. It doesn't make sense to me. So you're telling me that more visitors means that they can have a better experience. That doesn't really make sense. And then you say they can go sightseeing. So this whole argument didn't make sense. And I think part of the reason is because this isn't really what you wanted to say. I think what you really meant to say here is that the increase of visitors means that more people benefit from being exposed to new things. This is what I genuinely think you're trying to say. Okay, because what you wrote here doesn't match the rest of this. Okay, um, but if that is what you were trying to say, this should have changed. Like I didn't like this very much. Spectacular landscape and buildings, recall back later. All that was awkward and it wasn't really clear. So this part of the paragraph for me had some issues. I felt like it needed some improvement. Okay, let's continue. On the other hand, some people believe that any detrimental effects of traveling cannot be overlooked. Firstly, hold on a second. Now, see what you did here? Here you make it sound like this is your opinion. Taking a journey has several positive effects. You're almost presenting it as fact. But here you're saying some people believe. So this is what I don't want you to do. When it's like this, discuss advantages and disadvantages, but no, give your opinion. You have to take the same tone for both arguments. So either make it like this: taking a journey has several positive effects, and here then you could say, on the other hand, the detrimental effects of traveling cannot be overlooked. That also would have been good, because then it shows like both sides are part of your viewpoint. Okay, or you could have said some people believe, like you did here, and then said it is often believed. Okay, so this way you're doing it more impersonally. And that also would have been okay. I would have been all right with that. But you need to be consistent with this kind of essay, all right? So, some people believe that any detrimental effects of traveling cannot be overlooked. Firstly, local people and tourists staying at the same attraction together at the same time could lead to overcrowding. One of the primary concerns is about the decreased level of satisfaction during their journey. For example, so you could have linked this better. One of the primary concerns of this is the decreased level of satisfaction during their journey. For example, most tourists, get rid of most tourists may feel unhappy because they queue up 45 minutes to take the ride, not the ride as if there's one ride. Let's fix this. Most tourists may feel unhappy because they may need to queue up for 45 minutes to take a ride in a theme park. Okay? A theme park, a ride. Moreover, the increasing number of overseas or mainland visitors represents the escalating demand for air travel. As a result, it poses much more pressure on the local airport. Good. In the long run, the price of the air tickets would be increased and then affect the local tourism industry later on. Oh, what an interesting point. I like that. I like that you looked at it from this angle. Most people don't do that. So I thought that was an interesting viewpoint. In conclusion, the soaring amount of international and homeland visitors includes many advantages and drawbacks. It is predicted that we should promote the positive aspects of traveling and find solutions to reduce its negative consequences. Okay, so some of this was quite good. Some of it definitely needed a little work. All right, we talked considerably about that. I definitely preferred this paragraph. I thought it was much stronger, much better laid out, much clearer. You may remember I had quite a few reservations about this paragraph and some of the things you discussed. But yeah, I mean, and the conclusion was strong as well. So the second half really went a lot better. And it was essentially really just, some of this stuff here in that first part of the paragraph that I wasn't really particularly convinced about. All right, so good, but it needs a little work, okay? Let's take a look at the movie preferences now. The bar chart shows the 6 movie types for male and female preferences among the young adults in the world. Overall, it is clear to see that the most popular being the male-female preference, each is confident. All right, grammar is an issue. Let's try it again. The bar chart shows the 6 movie types by male and female preference among young adults in the world. Overall, it is clear to see that the most popular genre among males and females is comedy. All right, that's how you want to do that. Let's keep going. For the males, they represent the highest number of comedy at 145. That's a little awkward. I think there were better ways to say this, but okay. Fine. Let's keep it for now, and maybe something else will come up. Which is followed by the slightly smaller amount of action at 137. All right, now you're losing me a little. The least number for male preferences is romantic at 31, which is nearly a quarter lower than that of the females. That's not true, actually. The result of animation and drama is practically ideal, which displays the second least popular as 63. All right, some of the language here and your organization is confusing. So let's take a look at that data while we read the paragraph. How can I do this? Give me a second. No, I can't do that. Let's try it a little differently. Hold on. So the highest figure for the men was comedy. Okay. So for the males, they preferred comedy the most at 145, which is followed by action at a slightly smaller number of 137. Okay? Then the least number, this was awkward, the least number for male preference. The genre with the least preference of males is romantic at 31. And then this made no sense to me. It is nearly a quarter lower than that of the females. I mean, the women are all the way up here. Ah, so you're saying it's like 25% of this. Let's see. No, because you said it's a quarter lower. What you really meant to say is that it is a quarter of that of females. But I wouldn't even have done this because you haven't talked about the female numbers yet. And I would not have just given away this piece of information because this is the second highest for women. So I wouldn't have done this like this. Maybe you could have done something else. So far you've talked about two. You've talked about comedy. You've talked about action. You've talked about romantic. Okay. And then we still have animation, drama, and horror, right? So the result of animation and drama is practically identical at 63 each, or at roughly 63 each. So what did you leave out? I think you left out horror, no? No, you didn't. Wait. Animation and drama. Animation. Ah, interesting. Animation. Wait a second. Animation is 63 and 63 and drama is 63. So you didn't mention horror. Maybe you could have, and maybe you should have because you don't really have a lot of data here. Okay. So I would have added one more sentence just about horror, saying that horror rounded out the preferences at 73, whatever that number is, 73, roughly half of the figure of comedy. Okay, because it is. It's pretty much half of this 145. All right. Now let's go to females. What did you say here? Regarding the females, the most desirable movie is comedy at 137. And I don't really like that word desirable. It's the most popular. Okay, desirable is has a different meaning. So let's stick to the word popular. So the most popular movie genre, I really would have wanted the movie genre or the movie type. The second most popular movie is romantic at 116. Animation accounts for the least popular movie at 54, which is followed by the second least preferred. I would have said here, comma, horror, comma, at 64. Action shows at nearly action. I don't know what you're saying here. Action shows that that's awkward. I don't really understand this. So how about action is preferred by nearly a third less than, this is very confusing. Action shows that nearly a third lower than that of the males. All right. I like what you're trying to do. It is complex, it is advanced, but unfortunately, it's not working. So you needed to say something else. Let's see what this figure for action is for women. Action for women was 82. So is there something you can compare it to? You've already talked about romance. Um, what else did you talk about for the women? You talked about comedy, romance, animation, horror. So now you're talking about action. You never talked about drama. Uh, where is drama? Oh, here it is, 86. And what else did we say? Action, 82, and drama. I would have lumped these two together for the women, actually. So here's what I probably would have done. I probably would have obviously started with this, and then I would have I would have gone to that, saying it's like preferred by 20 fewer. Okay, something like that. I would have probably said that yes, animation was the least popular among women. Um, however, action and drama were preferred by a little over 80 women each. All right, and then you can leave this little piece of data for horror out. I mean, I guess it's not that important. So something like that, because I think it's interesting that these two are very similar. Okay, so that's another way you could have done it. Just clean up some of the grammar. Some of this is really rather awkward. Make sure you're grouping in a way that makes sense. Try to group things and categorize things together. All right, keep at it. I'd like to see more essays from you. Keep working, and I'll be looking forward to your next set. Good luck.